It's time now for Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join News Director Paul David and News Editor Philip Catafamo as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics in Yavapai County that affect all our lives. And now here's today's Countywide.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Countywide. I'm your host, Philip Catafamo. I'd like to thank you for joining me. On today's show, we are talking CASA, and we have back in studio with us CASA Coordinator Jennifer Barr, and she has brought along some CASA volunteers. We have one currently in studio with us next to Jennifer Barr, that is Jeff Mahan, and we have Kathy Ware and Pat Siebold with us as well, but they will be on in the second segment. Jen, it is great to see you. Last time that you were in studio, it was August, and the pandemic was still going on. It is, of course, still going on, but it is not as bad as it was when we were here in August, but because it's been so long, I was just curious if we could get just a kind of recap as to who CASA is and what the organization does.
Sure, absolutely. Good morning, Philip. Good to see you again. CASA stands for Court Appointed Special Advocate, and essentially it's people, individuals within the community that come from all different types of diverse backgrounds that are interested in working with children and advocating for the best interests of the children.
Right. Jeff Mahan is a CASA volunteer, and he is also alongside here with Jennifer and myself. Jeff, first and foremost, man, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thanks.
What got you interested in becoming a CASA volunteer?
Well, I had some friends when I lived in California that were CASA volunteers, a husband and wife, and they would tell me how things were going with them, and it seemed like a really effective way to help somebody. Okay. Somebody that's not in a good situation, somebody that can use a friend. And so when my wife and I finally moved here, and now that the COVID is kind of on the downside, we thought it was time to go out and step up and do some volunteer work, and we looked into CASA here, talked to Jen, and went through the training, and we're anxious we have our first case, so we're anxious to get going.
Now, I know that you're new to CASA. You recently observed an afternoon in dependency court. Can you talk a little bit about that experience, and was it kind of similar to what you thought you were getting into, or a little different?
Well, to me, you go through a lot of training just to get to that point. Okay. And that's just all theoretical stuff. You'll have, okay, here's a case history, and you'll go through all this. In the court that afternoon we observed, we saw the reality of all that. Yeah. And two things struck me. First of all, the number of cases that were in that session, how common it really is. And second of all, that it put these are real people that are involved in these things, and they have real life consequences, and it really reinforced how important it is what my wife and I were taking on to do this.
And let's talk a little bit about what they're taking on, Jen. Let's go back to you here and talk a little bit about how many kids are in CASA in Yavapai County, and how many children CASA advocates for.
So right now, there's approximately 369 children in the foster care system, and we have approximately 71 CASAs. And of those 71 CASAs, they are currently advocating for 111 of those children. So we are always in need of getting additional CASAs, and if we could have it our way, we would have a CASA for every kiddo that's involved in the foster care system.
Any upcoming outreach events that you want people to know about?
So we do have an upcoming outreach event that is scheduled for June 26th. It's from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. and it's at On the Greens and Pine Shadows, the 55 plus communities here in Cottonwood. And so if anyone who resides in either one of those areas, and if there's someone that knows someone who lives there, please stop by. We will have a booth, and we will be more than happy to talk to you about becoming a CASA volunteer.
If you want some more direct information about CASA in general and any sort of events that are coming up, visit their website, casaofyavapaicounty.org. The Verde Valley office number is 928-554-8900, and the Prescott office number is 928-771-3165. Again, casaofyavapaicounty.org. Jeff, did you have any experience working with children before you became a CASA?
Tangentially. My wife used to be a high school teacher and then was a vice principal, and she saw a lot of kids that weren't being served, and so she started her own learning center that helped kids that have problems with learning. They couldn't take auditory or visual input and turn it into learning. You know, in those cases, you would, same thing with dyslexia or those kinds of things. So, you know, I would see all these kids running through the center, and she had a lot of adoptive or foster kids being run through there, and that's how she had heard of CASA, because some of the kids in there had CASA advocates for them, and so that's been my exposure to kids, other than my own and my grandkids, who I dearly love, and
different experience, of course.
A different experience, exactly. So I'm anxious to get going on this, and Jennifer tells me I'm the only male CASA volunteer.
Oh, what a pioneer. Look at this guy.
That's me. I got my wagon up, parked out front. But you know, that's one of the advantages I bring to this. My wife and I are doing the first case.
What's a different perspective?
It's a different perspective, right, in bringing something else to the table on this.
Now, I'm curious, as to, Jeff being the only male. Mm-hmm. Of course, this isn't because they only hire females, but I mean, can we dive in a little bit as to maybe why Jeff is the only one currently? I know we need more volunteers. I know that's true.
Absolutely. And, we are trying to, determine why there aren't as many male CASA volunteers, and actually, having discussions with our current male CASA volunteers as to what may attract a male differently than a female, okay, to becoming a CASA volunteer, because they may look for, different things, and that may attract them to the attention of becoming a CASA volunteer. So okay, we're working on that, and I plan to have further discussions with Jeff to kind of pick his brain as to what would be more of an attention getter with male individuals in seeking the CASA volunteer.
Well, we've got just a couple minutes before we head into our first break. Jeff, being a new volunteer to CASA and being the only male so far, if you could give us a pitch as to why people should be a part of this organization in your experience so far, what would that be?
You get great training. Okay. Initially, just to get to the point where you're sworn in as a CASA volunteer, and ongoing. I now know more than I want to ever know about drug testing. I have a training tonight, or this afternoon, I should say, on something else. So it's ongoing. So you're not just thrown out there, and it's not sink or swim. You have great support from Jen. You have great support from the other CASAs, because we're all in all of this together, and it's nothing to be afraid of, and you can make a big difference in a kid's life.
Jeff Mahan and CASA coordinator Jennifer Barr, thank you both for coming on. We're going to switch you out with some other CASA volunteers. As Jeff mentioned, we have some more volunteers here with us. Kathy Ware and Pat Siebold on the other side of this break here on Countywide. Stay with us. We'll keep talking CASA right here on Countywide.
Terrifying jobs. Bull rider, take two.
Cliff, this seems like a really terrifying job. Why do you do it?
I love protecting the bull riders when they get bucked up.
How big are these bulls?
12 to 2,200 pounds of pure muscle.
You're not cowed by any of this, obviously. Is there anything that scares you?
Yeah. Distracted drivers terrify me.
Two things we can count on every year.
A new set of tax rules and great weather here in northern Arizona.
Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, locally owned and operated by Lewis Rice since 1997, is here for you all year long.
Your neighborhood Jackson Hewitt Tax Office will help you in all of your taxing situations.
Electronic filing is always free with your tax preparation at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service.
Get more in return. Call 1-800-234-1040 for an office near you.
The EPA says C&B Construction ranks in the top 1% nationally. C&B Construction invites you to see what energy efficiency and indoor air quality can be. We have won another Department of Energy Innovation Award, and C&B Construction is the only contractor in the country to win 6 consecutive EPA Indoor Air Plus awards. Experience our zero-energy, move-in-ready homes at Crossroads at Mingus.
C&B Construction, locally respected, nationally recognized. Find out more at C&B Homes.com.
Award-winning Soundbites Grill is an entertainment restaurant located in Uptown Sedona at the Hyatt Pinion Point Resort. Open for lunch and dinner, featuring fresh fish, all-natural hand-cut beef, even a full vegan menu. Family-friendly, open 11:30 to 9, late dining on Friday and Saturday. Soundbites Grill has some of the best views of the Sedona Red Rocks. Offers world-class entertainment, food, fun, and music.
Welcome back to Countywide. I'm your host, Philip Catafamo. On today's show, we are talking CASA, and now in studio with me are 2 CASA volunteers. To my right is Kathy Ware. She is wearing the blue, and to her left, or I should say her right, is Pat Siebold. She is in the black. Ladies, thank you very much for coming on and talking about your experiences with this organization. Kathy, we'll start with you. How did you get involved with CASA?
Well, interestingly enough, one year, right around New Year's, I was listening to this sermon, and the pastor said, you know, New Year's resolutions are great, and, you know, losing weight or exercise, all good. He said, but this year, maybe something that you should be asking yourself is what breaks God's heart and what breaks your heart, and then what are you going to do about it?
Okay.
And so I started then seeking, you know, what breaks my heart, and children and situations that they're in break my heart.
Yeah. Same question to you, Pat. You know, how did you get involved with this organization?
Before I retired, I saw some friends that were doing CASA. I was living in Kentucky at the time, and I thought, wow, I want to do that. So when I retired, we moved out here, and that was the first thing on my list, was to get involved with CASA.
You know, can you take us through the process of what CASA does to gather information on a case? I'm directing this, of course, to Pat.
Right.
How is that information relayed to other parties involved in the case?
When the judge assigns us a case, we have access to all the court documents, DCS documents, so we know, we sort of dive right into all the paper. And they also have child family team meetings where everyone involved with that family gets together, and we talk about what's going on with the case. We have access to the children, the family, anyone that's involved with the case. We have the ability to pick up the phone and call them and keep up to date with what's going on. Plus the children themselves, spending time with them and getting to know what they want and what their dreams and hopes are. And our job then becomes to advocate on their behalf when they think nobody's listening.
Kathy, you know, how does CASA help the children they're working with specifically?
Well,
Pat alluded a little bit to it.
I think every CASA has a little bit different way of doing things, but you know, the way I kind of look at it is when children are removed from their home, they end up with a lot of people. They may interface with police and DCS and then doctors and lawyers, and they will have foster families. So there's all of these people that immediately go into their life. And so what I do as a CASA is I want to do things with them that I enjoy and that they can enjoy. I've played disc golf with my kids. I have hiked along the river. I've gone hiking. We've picnicked. We've swam and waded in the river. There's just so many things that I can do with them. And what I kind of think is watch, observe, listen, and love. And not so many questions, because these kids already have a lot of people in their life that are questioning. And so rather than questions, I like to observe and listen.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting. You talk about just focusing on the kids in general. Obviously you're supposed to be that constant. You're in the courts, obviously. You're a court-appointed special advocate, so you're advocating for the kids. So you're in the court stuff, obviously. But outside of that, you just talked about playing disc golf, which also, how's the Frisbee arm? Is it pretty good?
It's very good.
Okay, good. Just doing other things with your kid and providing stability or just a chance to sort of step away from that environment, because like you just said, there's so many people coming into their lives, and most of them don't stick around for a very long time because they're police officers or they're judges or they're lawyers or whatever the case may be. So it's interesting, CASA provides a lot of stability for these kids when they really need it.
Yep.
Thank you.
My initial cases were babies.
Okay.
Which is a whole different ball game, because
not a lot of disc golf going on.
Correct.
No. Yes.
Correct. So you just become a friend, and visiting them, and after a while they get to know you. So they don't understand why I'm there, but they know I'm there.
Right.
And it's just a totally different relationship when when you go to court or when you're talking about what do they want. It's hard to tell, but you are there to make sure that they're safe and they're happy, and whatever environment they're in, foster care or kinship care, they're living with a relative, you just want to make sure it's the right decision for them. So it's been very interesting for me with babies as opposed to disc golf and going swimming.
Yes.
So that is kind of the variety, and CASA's really good about helping you decide what is the best group of children that you should be working with. Some people are really into babies, some people are into teenagers, so it just depends, which is a really nice option for people to understand that it's not one size and this is it, this is your case, and deal with it. They help you work through some cases and say, oh yeah, this sounds really interesting to me, or I really like working with babies, or I really like working with teenagers.
Jeff mentioned that same thing early on, earlier in the show, of course. He mentioned the support that you get a lot from the CASA in general, just from everybody who's a part of it, Jennifer Barr, of course, being the coordinator. So it's good that it's not just, okay, here's your case, here's your kid, good luck, we'll see you next Tuesday.
Exactly.
It's great that you have a lot of that training and a lot of that preparation and a lot of just great people behind you, because this kind of stuff is very hard to deal with. I would assume that there are a lot of kids who are in very, very tough situations that you have to come in and go, I'm here to help in any way I can, and whether it's we go play disc golf or we're just hanging out at a safe place or a place that isn't at home or isn't wherever, it definitely helps in any circumstance. Again, if you want any more information about CASA, casaofyavapaicounty.org is their website. The Verde CASA office number is 928-554-8900. The Prescott office number is 928-771-3165. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we will stay with Kathy and Pat and continue to talk about CASA. Don't go anywhere. Countywide, we'll be right back.
Who doesn't dream of home improvements? Perhaps your kitchen, the real living room. Maybe the bathroom, where you bookend your day. Langstrand Contracting is your one-stop shop from tear down to finishing touches. With 35 years of experience, Chris and his team will work with you to match your family's style and budget. Call Langstrand Contracting today for guidance in bringing your vision to life.
Hi, this is Greg at Verde Solar Power. You know, Arizona has lots of clean, renewable sunshine, and we want to help you take advantage of it with our quality solar installations, and we offer to beat any written offer on a residential solar electric system. So bring us your electric bill and let us show you how solar power will save you money. We're located conveniently here in the Verde Valley and are dedicated to helping the valley go solar. So remember, the energy solution comes up every morning.
Starting in the late 1920s, Grandpa Gettle and his brothers laid the groundwork for what would become a family legacy. Almost 100 years and 100 patents later, Gettle's High Desert Mechanical continues to raise the bar of quality heating, cooling, and plumbing products and services in the Verde Valley.
Call Gettle's High Desert Mechanical Heating, Air Conditioning, and Plumbing at 567-2200 or online at GettlesHDM.com, providing solutions for your comfort. Don't settle, get Gettles.
I want to welcome you back here to Countywide. On today's show, we are talking CASA, and we've got some CASA volunteers in studio with me right now. To my right is Kathy Ware, and to her right is Pat Siebold. We were talking about their experiences and why they joined CASA. And I do have another question for both of you. As a CASA, have you ever been asked the question, I don't know how to do it, advocating for abused and neglected children? And what is your response to that question? And we'll start with Kathy.
You know, I think people have, obviously, all of us have a preconceived idea of what that would look like, but children are children, and they all need the same thing. They need someone to love them and care for them, interact with them, and so you don't, at least I don't, for myself, I don't think of them in those terms. I just think of them as kids that need me, and that I can add something positive to their life, and I don't really think about the other stuff as much when I'm with them.
Okay. I asked Jeff this question before we headed into our first break in the first segment, and I want to start with Pat. Obviously, you're a part of CASA. If you were to give me that pitch to join CASA from what you've experienced so far, what would you tell people who might be on the fence or might be considering it or may never considered it?
I agree with what Kathy said, that children are children, and if you enjoy being around children, whatever age, it's a wonderful way to give back, and it's also a way for you to help the community as a whole. I mean, when these children grow up, we may have made a huge difference in some of the decisions that they make as they move forward in life. So I take that, I see myself as giving back to the community when I'm volunteering with CASA, because we do impact change. So giving, and if you like children, they're just kids. You know, they just want someone that can be in their lives that's a positive influence.
Kathy, same question.
So the question is,
why should people join CASA, essentially?
Oh, okay. Yeah. And I mean, really, Pat said it very well. If you have a heart for kids, then you're either going to be an advocate in a CASA, or you're going to be a big brother, big sister, or you're going to help in your church's Sunday school. You're going to be involved, and CASA is a good place to put that time.
Yep.
Again, if you want some more information about CASA in general, CASAofYavapai is the website to go to. Verde CASA office number is 928-554-8900, and the Prescott CASA office number is 928-771-3165. I would like to thank CASA coordinator Jennifer Barr and CASA volunteer Jeff Mahan for coming on this program earlier in the show, and of course Kathy Ware and Pat Siebold for joining us for the second half of the show. Again, CASAofYavapai is the website. That is going to do it for this episode of Countywide. I'm your host, Philip Catafamo, wishing you a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next time.